Aloha, welcome to our video on viruses. The goals for the video are to describe the structure of viruses and also to compare the life cycles of viruses. Okay, so viruses are made up of two things. They have two different parts. The first is this protein capsid here, and this is going to be the outer shell. So it's made up of a head here, it has the tail sheath here, and then the little tail fibers here, and those are all proteins. The other structural part of a virus is the DNA that's found inside of the head here. Okay, so we have the protein capsid and then we have the DNA material, and that's all that's in a virus. Okay, so how do viruses infect other cells? Well, as you can see, our little virus friend over here has attached to the outer membrane of our cell. In this case, it's probably going to be a bacteria. And then what it will do is it attaches in and then it will inject in its DNA. And you can see its DNA materials being done here. So the DNA that was up in here is going to be injected into the new cell. So here we can see that our virus is already injected in its DNA into the host cell. Now it's called the host cell because now it's hosting this new genetic material. It is at this point that the DNA in the virus has two pathways that it can follow. One is the Lysogenic cycle and the other is the Lysogenic cycle. So let's take a look at the Lysogenic cycle first. So in the Lysogenic cycle, what happens is the host cell will start to make copies of the viral DNA. Okay, and it'll start making the necessary proteins. So it'll undergo replication and make copies of the viral DNA, and then it'll go through transcription and translation and start making these proteins. Okay, so we'll start seeing that what we're doing is we're making more and more viral DNA. Now the proteins will fold over and they'll form more of these capsids for the virus, and the DNA will then come in there, and what we'll notice is that we're starting to assemble many viruses. So the cell that was injected with this DNA from the virus has then started to make more and more viruses. And the net result is this host cell will then rupture and release more viruses out, which can then go on and repeat this process. So in the Lysogenic cycle, what happens is the DNA comes in, and then that DNA is used right away, and it's used to make more viruses, and that's how viruses can spread, either in an organism, or in the case of this here, we have one single-celled organism that's just manufacturing more. It becomes a virus factory per se. Now the lysogenic cycle is a little bit different. What happens is we still have the injection of the viral DNA, but here what you'll see is it's kind of bonded up and it's hiding inside of the host chromosomes. So in our bacteria that has one chromosome, what we'll see is this viral DNA just kind of hides. It hangs out. It's not doing anything. It's just there. Now, because it's become part of the DNA, as that bacteria cell goes through binary fission and it makes more bacteria cells, what we're going to see is this viral DNA is going to be copied, it's going to be replicated, and we have all of these cells now are being infected by the viral DNA through a normal cell process. Now, we can have some kind of a stress event for the cell, or it can be a time event. Normally, it's some kind of a stressor. And when that happens, this viral DNA is going to exit the chromosome. So it used to be attached in here, and it's going to separate itself out. Once it separates itself out, then it will convince the host cell to enter the Lysogenic cycle. So once it's out here and it's on its own, it'll start to replicate itself, it'll start to make its proteins, it'll make more of these little viruses, and then the cell burst and release all these viruses out. So the lysogenic cycle is more of just a wait until the right time, and then once that happens, then all of these cells will go through the whole process. So here we can see our real quick overview of these. We have our lytic and our lysogenic cycle. Remember, it all starts when this virus comes down and injects its DNA into its host cell. And from there, it determines. It can go into the lytic cycle where it's going to manufacture more viruses and release them, or it can go into this lie in wait cycle, the lysogenic cycle. And the lysogenic cycle will go until it hits some kind of a stress, and then once that happens, it kicks in the lytic cycle. And that's how viruses reproduce. So viruses aren't living per se because they can't reproduce on their own. They have to use these other cells for this to happen. Okay, so that's it for our video. As always, good luck in the lessons, and we'll see you in the next video.